back to the 815 Exchange. I am your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live once again from the 336 for episode 22 of the 815 Exchange. Ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year. It is finally 2021. We can put that horrible, whatever you want to call last year, we can put that all behind us. Now, about today's episode. There is no entertainment section. Usually around the middle of the podcast I talk about music or movies or television. Well, none of that really happened. New Music Friday was New Year's Eve, so it kind of makes sense why would anybody really want to drop on New Year's, Eve, New Year's Day. But don't worry. Because there was plenty, and I mean absolutely plenty in sports this past week. It was madness. There was so many things that happened for me to talk about. Because sports was absolutely the entertainment this week. So without further ado, I'm just going to get straight to the NFL, because that's what happened the latest. That's what I'm fired up about this morning. I got First Take on in the background. It's what they've been talking about this morning. So why not? Let's talk about the NFL. Week 17, last week of the regular season, there was a plethora of playoff spots still available, plenty of playoff positioning to be made, and of course I'll talk about the playoffs after I finish this, little roundup as I do of the week. So let's get straight to it. But before that, of course, as you all know, please like, share, and subscribe. Much appreciated. You tell me what you want to see. You tell me all this stuff. You comment on what I'm saying. You give me your opinions. You give me your takes. All that stuff. I may even throw it in the video. Who knows? Let's see. Oh, timestamps, as always, like I always say, are in the description if you didn't know. If you're new here, timestamps, as always, I get it, long form content in the description. Okay, Cowboys-Giants. The Giants win the game 23-19. They eliminate the Dallas Cowboys from playoff contention as a result. Now listen. This was a very controversial game. I wasn't too hurt about this game, even though I'm a Cowboy fan. Because this season was a wash for me already. I didn't really care if we made the playoffs or not. But nonetheless, we were there. We had an opportunity. After Dak, and I said this on the podcast the past 1,000 weeks or whatever, past 16 weeks, I guess, or whenever Dak got hurt, this season was a wash. I didn't care. I was looking forward to the top 10 pick, or the top 5 pick it was at one time. So I wasn't too particularly hurt about the way this game ended, but I just have to comment on it. I have to comment on the ending to this game. Because apparently, Wayne Gallman managed to recover a fumble with his, and I have to keep it PG because I'm on YouTube, his scrotum or his private area. Somehow this man, his taint, somehow this man has managed to recover and control a football with his groin. I've never in my life seen it. I've never in my life. In full splits, apparently, he was in control and recovered that football. News to me that you can do that. We still may not have won, but whatever you want to call the refs. Listen, I don't know why, and I tweeted this out. I don't know why, and I'm going to get to the whatever Sunday Night Football was. I don't know why the NFC East is allowed into the playoffs this year. I get it because of rules and the divisional winner has to make it. But every team in this division is so sorry. This is the worst division. This is a historically bad division this year. I think I saw something where our average winning percentage is 46.7% or something like that. That's the worst ever. The worst ever. This is the worst division in the history of football. I don't know if any of us are deserving. Maybe that Washington football team defense. Shout out to Chase Young. But nobody in this division deserves to be going to the playoffs. But Giants get the win. You can say what you want about the ending. It was whatever. Listen, I'll take the better draft position. Thank you, New York. The Bills absolutely slaughtered the Dolphins. 56-26 in a game that ends up actually costing Miami playoffs. Even though they finished 10-6, I think Brian Flores did a great job this year. They overperformed wildly. But this game was all Buffalo. They're the number 2 seed in the playoffs. Josh Allen, 18 for 25, 224, 2 touchdowns for him. Tua, not a great day. He had 361 passing, but had 3 picks. He looked like a rookie out there. We'll see what he can do for an encore next year. We'll see what the deal is with Fitz, Magic. Devontae Parker, 7 receptions, 116. But this game was all Bills. Completely dominant game for them. Antonio Williams with a pair of touchdowns. Yeah, just all Bills. Bills are going to be a team. They're definitely going to be a team in the playoffs. And we'll talk about that later. Ravens beat the Bengals 38-3. They clinched the playoff spot. Bengals, of course, I mean, I'm not sure what we expected. Brandon Allen with a hilariously bad game. 6 for 21, 48 yards, 2 picks. Good God. Lamar, 3 touchdown game through the air for him. But J.K. Dobbins really stole the show here. 13 carries, 160, and 2 touchdowns for J.K. to finish up the regular season portion of his rookie year. So that's good for J.K. Ladies and gentlemen, can we give a round of applause? I just want you to stand up and give a round of, or if you're sitting, or give just a small round of applause if you're somewhere quiet, for the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns, ladies and gentlemen, are headed to the playoffs. For the first time in God knows when, the Cleveland Browns, like I said, they're a good team this year, and they're a playoff team this year. They knock off the Steelers 24-22. Shout out to Baker Mayfield. Prophecy fulfilled. He's brought the Browns back from mediocrity. It wasn't just him, of course. You got Chubb. You got Myles Garrett. Stefanski as a coach needs a lot of credit. Just a great job by that organization from being the laughingstock of the league to now a legitimate playoff team, and something the fans that have been thirsting over his just success for so long and have stuck with him. And if you stuck with the Browns through all of this, then credit to you. Welcome to the playoffs. We'll see what they can do. They've been a little volatile this year, but they still finished 11-5. That's a really good record. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the Browns can do. Baker, not his, nothing crazy, but Nick Chubb, I think, did a very good job. 14 carries, 108, 1 touchdown. Chase Claypool for the Steelers, man. If it weren't for, Justin Herbert, he definitely needs to be, he still needs to be in the combo, I guess, if there was, a Heisman list for it or whatever, then Claypool would definitely be a candidate for Offensive Rookie of the Year. 5 receptions, 101, and a touchdown for Claypool in this game. Yeah. The Vikings etch out the Lions 37-35. Kirk Cousins, 405 yards, 3 touchdowns. Sorry, really need to say about that. Dalvin couldn't play. His family in my prayers. Him and his little brother plays for Georgia. Both couldn't play this past week as their father died. So prayers and condolences go out to the Cook family. I know it's definitely tough. In a scenario nobody ever wants to have to deal with. But yeah. Patriots beat the Jets 28-14. Adam Gase got fired, so Jets, you almost did it. You almost won your way into keeping Adam Gase, but you did the right thing and you got rid of him. Unfortunately, you ended up with the second pick, but I don't know. After a certain somebody's performance, maybe it's okay. Maybe you keep Sam Darnold. Who knows at this point? We'll see what goes on there. Buccaneers beat the Falcons 44-27. Tom Brady finishes his age 43 season with 43 passing touchdowns. In this game, 28 for 41, 3-99, and 4 touchdowns for Brady. AB looked like vintage AB. 11 receptions, 138, and 2 touchdowns for him. Matty Ice not too bad either. 29 for 44, 265, and 2 touchdowns through the air. Bad year for the Falcons. They massively underperformed for me. I think they're way better than the way they've been playing. But nonetheless, they got a very high pick. They went 4-12 this year. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but we'll see how that goes for them. Bucks get a big win. They've been building a lot of momentum, I think, lately. We'll see how they do in that NFC playoffs and see how that goes. Packers beat the Bears 35-16, and the Packers, as a result, clinched the number 1 seed and the bye in the playoffs. Rodgers continues his push for the playoffs. 19 for the MVP. 19 for 24. 244 touchdowns for him. Not a great game for the Bears, just overall. But Packers get the win. Bears, I think, made the playoffs also, so it worked out for both. Raiders and the Broncos. Darren Waller needs to be considered the 3rd best tight end. I wouldn't put him above Kelsey and Kittle yet, but I think he's firmly in that 3rd best tight end in the league conversation. Well, not even conversation. I'd put him there, no questions. 9 receptions, 117, 1 touchdown. Great day for him. And the Raiders win late on a 2-point conversion, just eked by the Broncos, who gave them a great fight, but it was a great game to watch. But Vegas gets the win. Jaguars, Colts. Colts get the win 28-14. Jonathan Taylor had a huge day, 253, 2 touchdowns. Looked like Wisconsin Taylor out there. Jaguars got the first pick. Next stop, Trevor Lawerence. Chargers beat the Chiefs 38-21. Chiefs sat out everybody. They didn't have anybody to play for, so nothing too crazy. Herbert, another good day, over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Rams beat the Cardinals 18-7. It's going to be very interesting to see what's the deal with Kyler. Currently injured. Hurt that ankle. He's been dealing with the past couple weeks. We'll see if there's anything major with that going on. The Cardinals finished 8-8, which I think is about right for them, as they were just kind of all over the place. Also, going back to the Raiders briefly, I talked about this the past couple weeks. I've been saying for a while now, the Raiders are the epitome of an 8-8 team. And what do you know? They finished 8-8, and the Cardinals also wildly inconsistent, as I've said this year. They finished the wildly inconsistent, as you can tell from the record, 8-8. Seahawks get rid of the 49ers 26-23. Big win for the Seahawks in terms of building momentum towards the playoffs and towards the wild card. They've had their bright moments, they've had their weak moments, but they've found ways to win, and that's what's important. Saints decimate the Panthers even without Kamara. Made it look relatively easy. Breeze 3 touchdowns. Shout out to Montgomery. Dude is I was honestly, in retrospect, the perfect replacement for Kamara out there, because he plays both running back and receiver similar to how Kamara does. He had 105 on the ground. Titans beat the Texans. Derrick Henry goes over the 2,000-yard mark. This was also a great game. Henry, 34 carries, 250, 2 touchdowns. A.J. Brown, special shout-out, 10 receptions, 151, and a touchdown. Derrick Henry finishes with 2,027 yards, rushing, and 17 touchdowns. Both of those are first in the league. Derrick Henry needs to be in MVP conversation. Maybe, in fact, he should be the MVP, if we're being completely honest. Anytime a running back goes over 2,000 yards is special, and Derrick Henry has been special for 2 years, but of course this is about this year, and he's been phenomenal. He's the best running back in the league right now. I don't think there's really any debate about it. He's the best running back in the league right now. And after a season like this, he deserves some MVP talks. And let's see. Lastly, but certainly not least, whatever you want to call the travesty that went on with Washington and Philly, whatever you want to call that, 20-14. I don't know why this was Sunday Night Football. Well, the Washington football team, by the way, as a result of this, makes the playoffs. They get they win the NFC East off of this. I don't know why this was Sunday Night Football. And then big situation brewing with the Eagles. Doug Peterson is definitely on the hot seat. I would fire him after this, honestly, in my opinion. I think this was a fireable offense. Taking Jalen Hurts out. I mean, listen, gentlemen, this is one of the most deliberate tank jobs I think we've seen, or I've seen. Literally brew the game. They literally drew the game. He took Jalen Hurts out for seemingly no reason, building momentum probably to take the lead. Says, oh, wait, you're going to mess up our draft position. They yank Hurts in the middle of the game, put Nate Sudfeld out there, and, of course, Nate Sudfeld didn't do nothing, especially not against that Washington defense front seven. I mean, one of the most deliberate. Honestly, it was just an insult to the Eagles players. We had Kelsey, Ertz, and Wentz. The foundation of that team hung out after the game for a while. I think Ertz was there even longer. If those three are gone, man, this Eagles team is about to go through it. Like, it might get Jets bad. Even with a bright spot as Hurts has been playing this year, you just lost the locker room. Peterson has to go, in my opinion. That was just, I mean, I don't know how you, if you're gonna tank. I mean, at that point, why don't just start Sudfeld? I guess you didn't have enough belief in your players that you were putting out there that they were gonna actually win. So why didn't you start Sudfeld or the backups, whatever you want to call them, the third stringers, the practice squad guys? Why didn't you start them from the start if you're going to tank this game? Why'd you throw it in the middle of the third or fourth quarter? Giants fans absolutely have a right to be upset about that. Eagles fans definitely have a right to be upset about that. Just an absolutely mediocre performance from the Philadelphia Eagles. But you know what? Those two games that happened in the NFC East this year, this last week, perfectly epitomize and symbolize the NFC East for the year. How mediocre those two games, how mediocre each four of those teams are, how mediocre each of those performances were, perfectly symbolize how mediocre that division is. Why are any of us in the playoffs? Okay, now to speak about the actual playoffs and just kind of present you guys the matchups we got. We got the Browns taking on the Steelers for a third time. Very interested to see how that match. I'm not going to do any predictions here. I'm just kind of spelling it all out. Steelers and the Browns is going to be a very interesting one. Of course, there are 7 teams making the playoffs this year, which means there's only one team in each division, in each conference, that did get the bye this year. So, with that said, 7 teams make the playoffs. That means a little bit more wild card matchups. 3 wild card matchups for each conference, actually. Steelers-Browns going to be a very interesting one. Colts versus the Bills. And the Ravens versus the Titans. Each of those 3 teams, especially, I'd say, obviously, the Browns and Steelers, that's a rivalry. They've gone back and forth this season. In fact, they just played. You got the Titans and the Ravens who have history. Titans knocked out Lamar Jackson last year. We'll see if he can get revenge against Derrick Henry and Co. this year. Colts taking on the Bills. Very intriguing matchup. Of course, I would probably take the Bills if I was doing predictions. But we'll see how the Colts can manage. We got the Rams, and if I go to the NFC, we got the Rams and the Seahawks. Another divisional rivalry. Bears and the Saints, former A. That was an AC championship game, I think, a couple years ago. Like I said, Bears squeaked in. Drew Brees, is this his last? This could be Drew's last season. We'll see how he does in the playoffs this year. And of course, we have the Washington football team being sacrificed to Tampa Bay, and I absolutely do mean sacrificed. I do not expect them by any means to advance, even though, like I said, I'm not doing predictions. But I mean, this Tampa Bay team is hot right now. Also, Tampa Bay has to go to Washington, which is wild to me. Which is wild. I don't know why the NFC East gets the host. I mean, I get it because the rules, but there needs to be an exception this year. Because it's... Listen. But yeah, Tampa Bay takes on Washington. That'll be a very tough game. We'll see if Chase Young in that front seven, what they can do against Tampa Bay. Tristan Wirfs potentially matching up against some of those great defensive ends. We'll see. Might possibly see a rookie versus rookie matchup. Two guys I really liked in the draft, and Wirfs and Young. But yeah, that's the playoffs. It's probably popped up right here for you to visualize. And, of course, Wild Card Weekend starts next week. We'll see and recap all of that and see how that goes. But that is the NFL for the week. Now, continuing on the football route, I have to talk about, of course, the week in college football. Where should I start? You know what? I'll lead up to the college football playoff. I talked about that a lot, whether you follow me on social media or, if you follow me on social media, Twitter, TikTok, Snap, IG, whatever. I was talking about it a bunch. And I have plenty to talk about there, and I'll get to that. But we're going to start with some bowl games. UGA took on Cincy, and was one of the best games, actually, of bowl season. 24-21, UGA gets the win. JT Daniels, 26 for 38, 392, one touchdown. Again, JT came and just really changed the game for Georgia. Would have been very interesting to see him with a full season. I'm pretty sure he's coming back next year, and we'll see what he can do. Another guy's coming back next year for Georgia, George Pickens, 7 receptions, 135, and a touchdown. Pickens, legitimately, if he could not be a head case, if Pickens can put it all together up here, he might be the most talented receiver in college football. Oh, well, actually, let me refrain from saying that. One of the most talented, because there's some very good receivers, and of course, the Heisman winner this year, I'm gonna call my shot. Devontae Smith is still in college, but Pickens, off of pure raw talent, one of the most talented receivers I've seen. Really could be one of the best in the nation. I think he is, as long as he can put it up here, and you can get him to stop being distracted or playing over emotional. Pickens is a very special talent for Georgia, and we'll see how that Daniels and Pickens develop into next year and see how Georgia does next year. Of course, they'll be a top 10, top 5 team, as per usual, as a Kirby Smart Georgia team is. Not a bad game as well from Cincinnati. Unlucky in some aspects of this game, but of course, that's how it is sometimes. 18 playoff. This would have been a great early round game for the 18 playoff. And yeah, again, even though Cincy lost, even though Coastal lost, even though Texas A&M won, but I'm more talking about the group of 5 teams. They deserve opportunities to play for. They deserve an opportunity to play for the national championship. Iowa State beat Oregon. Tyler Show is now 0-5 against Brock Purdy, who, by the way, Brock Purdy decided, I'm coming back. Breece Hall also coming back for Iowa State. He had 136 and 2 touchdowns. But Purdy and Hall are going to be back for Iowa State next year, which makes them a major, they already were this year, but a major contender for Oklahoma next year. It makes the Big 12 a lot more interesting, a lot more competitive. Matt Campbell doing a phenomenal job over there for the Cyclones. Oregon, not really surprised. The Pac-12 sucked this year. They got in because we folded. Fight on. I will talk about our success, though, later, because we did have some success this week. TAMU takes out UNC 41-27. Actually, I think Carolina probably would have won this game had Javonte Williams and Michael Carter, the best running back duo in the country, not opted out. But the Kellen Mond era at Texas A&M ends with a 41-27 victory. Though Akane, the freshman running back for them, 12 carries, 140, 2 touchdowns. Nicky averaged almost or around or maybe over 10 yards a carry. For the season, that's phenomenal, and we already know they got Spiller, one of the best running backs in the SEC. So yeah, Jimbo Fisher doing wonders. Mac Brown also doing wonders for Carolina. Two teams on the rise. Very interested to see what they do in the future. Got some pieces coming back next year. Got some talented freshmen coming in. This is, of course, is not the last I think we see of Texas A&M and North Carolina playing on New Year's Day or the day after. Just during the New Year's Six. They're going to be around. Finally, let's talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. Let me take a quick water break here. Because let's talk about it. Alabama Notre Dame is the one we'll start off with first. Bama wins 31-14 to no surprise. Nobody really, nothing really too surprising here. This was expected. This was very much so expected. I'm actually surprised it wasn't worse, but Bama did kind of let off the gas, though. Credit to Notre Dame. They, tried to stick around. But, I mean, it was just, there's levels. There's levels to this. Devontae Smith, the Heisman winner, 7 receptions, 130, 3 touchdowns, just dominant. Another dominant game for Smitty, even though he got hurt. Actually, it wasn't a dominant game. Take that back. Devontae Smith had one of the worst games I've seen him play all year. And he still had 7 receptions, 130, and 3 touchdowns. He was kind of all over the place. He had a drop ball, the onside kick. He did not have his best game and still had 7 receptions for 130 and 3 touchdowns. That should tell you how dominant he's been since Waddle got hurt. That should tell you how dominant he's been. Mac Jones, 25 for 30, 297, 4 touchdowns. Mac Jones, very interesting case. I think... I don't know. I mean, he's been a very good quarterback, don't get me wrong. But honestly, just watching Mac play, he's not one of those guys that really jumps out at you. But he doesn't. He's very consistent, and he does his job perfectly. And that's what's helped him put up big numbers is you have all these weapons. All you have to do is get the ball to these weapons, not turn the ball over, and basically just execute. And that's the great part about Mac Jones is that he just executes. That's what makes him so good. He's not an elite, quarterback on the caliber of Lawrence, Fields, Wilson, maybe even Lance. But he just gets it done. He does what he has to do. And he does it right. He does it at a consistent level. And I think that's the best part of Mac Jones. And what makes him great. And a great college quarterback. Still showing the Heisman over Smitty, but nonetheless, Bama gets the win. No surprise there. Let's talk about the big one, though, the most talked about game, the one I talked about the most, and the one I have plenty to talk about here, and that's Clemson losing to Ohio State, 49-28. Justin Fields had a monster game, 22 for 28, 385, 6 touchdowns. Trey Sermon, 193 and 1 touchdown for him. Chris Olave, Ohio State receivers. I said it all year. Ohio State, truth be told, might have the best receiving corps in the country. It's on the same level as Bama. Again, they don't really have anybody, I'd say, producing on the level or as good as Devontae Smith. But as a whole group, the talent level is very much so equal. And that makes, and Fields, and they have a tight end in Ruckert, and I forget the other tight end's name, but also he's very good. You got Trey Sermon, you got running backs. Fields has every weapon you could ever want. And couple that in with Fields being a weapon, a very good and elite quarterback himself, that makes for a very dangerous offense. In Clemson's defense, well, they got exposed. Especially with Skolowski out, but you already saw he was dealing with some stuff, communication issues. That Clemson secondary was god-awful. Darion Kendrick got torched. he got lit up. He got lit up. That entire Clemson defense got lit up, especially after Skolowski left. It was not pretty. That is the reason why Clemson lost this game. Nothing on Clemson's offense, can't really put it there. Actually, I can talk about Clemson's offense, and I will, because they also had some contribution, actually. But that defense was god-awful. That was the worst secondary performance I've seen since the college football playoff last year, when Oklahoma got murdered by quite possibly the best team ever in LSU. It was bad. That secondary was awful. I think I could have walked in there, re-put the pads on once again, put my cleats on, and I might have gotten in the box once or twice. That's how bad the secondary was and defense was for Clemson. Again, the targeting call against Skolowski, I think it was just, it was very unlucky. Very unlucky. Similar to Sean Wade last year, I don't think there was malicious intent, but just kind of unlucky that Fields went for the spin, and because Fields doesn't go for that spin, then this is just a normal wrap-up with his head down. But the way he spun into Skolowski in that form, so it's targeting. Again, you can say how you feel about that rule, but it is what it is. Clemson lost, and I might have been for the better. This loss is absolutely not on Trevor Lawerence, though he did turn the ball over technically 4 times. Well, actually not. He only turned it over twice. He had 3 fumbles, but he recovered 2 of them. This loss isn't on Trevor Lawerence. 33 for 48, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. This is not a choke job by any means. Lawerence was getting murdered all night. That Clemson offensive line was god-awful. It was a turnstile. He was getting beat up. I don't remember it being even that bad. Or even Ohio State. They made Ohio State's D-line look like they had the Bosa's and Chase back there. Haskell Garrett's a great defensive lineman. Jonathan Cooper's pretty good. But they had no business looking as good as they did against the Clemson O-line, which was god-awful. God-awful. Lawerence was taking an absolute beating. Had no time to throw the ball. It was just a rough day. And even with all of that, Lawerence still threw for 400. Still, again, I wouldn't put the blame on this game on him. He didn't lose this game. He did his job, but the truth is, and especially here in the playoffs, one man, as great as he can be, or whatever you want to call Lawerence, there's an argument about, I think there's definitely an argument on whether he's generational or he's just very good, or just elite, or whether he's generational. I think there's definitely an argument, a middle ground there, about which side of those he belongs to. But regardless, one man or 2 people, even him and Etienne, in these big games, these playoff games, it takes a team. It takes a great team to win. Not just 1 or 2 great players. It takes a great, complete team. And Ohio State is just a better, more complete team. I'm happy that Fields showed out. I talked about it all week. This doesn't change my draft ranking. If Fields, honestly, I think it could be a 1A, 1B situation. This is what I said at the beginning of the year with Lawerence and Fields. I thought it was 1A, 1B. Fields did not have a good regular season, and we can't ignore that, of course, that he was not great, and that's just the facts. He was not great in the regular season. You can point whatever factors you want at that, but he didn't. If he can play like he did against Clemson, or just play good, like we know Justin Fields can play at a more consistent level, I have absolutely no qualms making it a 1A, 1B again, because that's what I think it'll end up being. And I think they're both going to be great quarterbacks. Trevor, I think, better right now, but Fields definitely could be close to or on his level, or you could say he's on his level, and I don't think that's really a big, out-of-pocket thing. I wouldn't put him over it, but, this is a 1A, 1B. These 2 guys are going to be linked forever. It's such a crazy scenario between Lawerence and Fields, just how it kind of worked out. Top two players in the nation, coming out of high school, lived like 20 miles away from each other, somehow never played each other in high school. if you want to go by matchups, Fields won the Elite 11 over Lawrence. Lawrence regained his number one, status and went wire to wire as the number one prospect. So I guess he won that battle. Then, of course, Clemson held it down last year, got the win in that game. Fields and Ohio State get it done this year. So I'd say they're about 2-2 matched up. But they're going to be linked and compared forever. We'll see how that blossoms, that rivalry. Even though it's not like they hate each other, they actually like each other. And are pretty friendly. But interesting to see those two great young quarterbacks do. And congratulations to Ohio State. Now, I'll give my national championship prediction next week because I think the national championship is next Monday, so I will have a podcast out before or during. But all I'll say is Shaun Wade, and like I said on TikTok, and I posted that actually went viral. Got like 15K views off of that, which was kind of cool, whatever. But Shaun Wade, they better not put Shaun Wade. I don't know what Ohio State is going to do for Devontae Smith, because that's going to be a massacre if they put Shaun Wade on him. But we'll see what goes on there. I'll do my actual prediction next week, and yeah. Okay, finishing up here for college football. We're going to do some college football recruiting, as the All-American game actually would have been yesterday, but of course all that's canceled because of changed schedules, because of COVID. Anyways, let's see. The big news. And like I said, I had some good news for our SC fans. We got the number one player in the country. Korey Foreman has decided to team up with his former teammate Drake Jackson to form one of the best defensive end duos probably in the country next year. The number one player in the country, Korey Foreman, is headed to USC. Fight on. I can't believe we got him. I don't know how Clay Helton continues to do this. We also got Sierra Wright, a great cornerback from Cali. I don't know how he does it. I really don't know, even though we had a great, awful recruiting class last year. He somehow continues to pull in these top 10, top 15 recruiting classes purely off of us just being USC, despite the fact that we have not been a top 10 program or even really a top 15 program, if we're being honest. In results-wise, at least. We certainly have the talent. Korey Foreman, though, absolutely huge pickup. Was committed to Clemson at one point in time, but decommitted to reopen up his recruitment because he wants to take visits. And somehow we got him. I heard the rumor that we got him for a while, but don't know how he did it. But I'll take it. I'll take it. No complaints here. Tristan Lay headed to Clemson, one of the top tackles in the country. I know LSU and Oklahoma fans for a long time thought it was them. They were favored. But yeah, Lay ends up picking Clemson, which was huge. Big for them. Big pickup for them. They certainly needed it. I don't know if he saw that offensive line and thought, hey, that's easy playing time because of how bad they played. But Lay is a massive pickup for Clemson. They need offensive linemen, and they need DBs. They got pretty much everything else, but they need those two things. Absolutely. Terrence Lewis, the top inside linebacker in the country, commits to Maryland. Mike Loxley knows everybody in Florida. If you didn't know, now you know. But Lewis, he seems to be the Zach Evans of this recruiting class. A lot of problems surrounding him in terms of his off-the-field actions. You can do your own investigation. I won't air him out on here. But that's probably why he ended up at Maryland, to be honest. We'll see what Loxley can do with him, though. If he can keep his head on straight, could be a massive pickup for Maryland and really start to steer them in the right direction. Lastly, though, for college football, Tom Herman fired finally for Texas. Sam Ehlinger also declared just the end of an era for Texas. With Herman being fired, Ehlinger declares, again, big shout out though to Sam. I hope he gets drafted. I don't know if there's been any player that's been more synonymous with the program as Sam has for Texas. And dude just bled burnt orange. I mean, he literally, blood, sweat, and tears, gave his all to being the face and trying to bring Texas back. So big shout out to him. Yeah, just a big shout out to Sam on a great career. He did his thing. All the props to him. Was a great player. 4-0 in bowl games at Texas. Steve Sarkisian, of course, it wouldn't be an Alabama bowl season or an Alabama playoff run without a coordinator getting sniped off the block. Sarkisian gets his job. He's going to Texas. He'll be the new head coach. We'll see what Sark does there. And how he manages. I don't know if it's an upgrade or not. We'll see. Of course, he doesn't have to deal with alcoholism this time like he did at USC and Washington. So we'll see how he does it. Texas. But that is college football for the past week. And that is football. I have talked about football for quite a long time. Now let's talk about basketball, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. All right, now for college basketball. UNC Charlotte, if you don't know, if you're new here, even though I say it pretty much every week, but if you're new here, I go to UNC Charlotte, so I will be covering them throughout the year. College basketball, we went to overtime. We were actually on TV. Went to overtime against Western Kentucky. Shout out to Jameer Young. Have to give a shout out to my guy. He had 24, 7, and 7. We got the win 75-71. Jameer's been phenomenal all year, averaging about 20 a game. Looking like not only one of the best guards in Conference USA, but looking like one of the best players in Conference USA. Was one of the best players on the team last year, and it seems like he's taken that step up this year and become the best player, starting to become the leader on that team, and will be very interesting. And of course, I will be following to see how he does the rest of the year. Jameer went to DeMatha Catholic. I think he's the most high profile recruit we brung in. I think in a long time at least. But like I said, he went to DeMatha, Markel Fultz. And of course, he was high school teammates with the next guy I'm going to talk about as a part of the Big Ten being the best conference in college basketball right now. Michigan is undefeated. Hunter Dickinson, Jameer Young's former high school teammate, is a big reason why. He's averaging 17 and 9. They just beat Northwestern. Michigan, I guess, is my highlight team of the week. It was Houston last week. They took their first L. We'll see if my curse applies to Michigan as well. We'll see if they lose. But in the madhouse, that is the Big Ten, the chaos that it is right now, they are undefeated. I also have to give a big shout out to Minnesota. Also been very competitive in the Big Ten. And a big shout out to Marcus Carr, averaging 23 points right now. He's looked very good. Iowa won 77-75 over Rutgers. I got to watch that game. Luka Garza, quite possibly the best player in college basketball, probably the best player in college basketball. Big shout out to Ron Harper Jr. He's made a big step up into stardom. Didn't have his finest game against Iowa, but still made some big game-changing plays. Unfortunately, they came up short. But man, the Big Ten is fun to watch, especially with the ACC being down this year, not having a great year. The Big Ten's really stepped it up. It feels like everybody in that conference is ranked. I think Minnesota actually's next 13 games are all ranked opponents. So we'll see how that goes. Lastly, from college basketball, let's see. Texas and Kansas. Texas gets the win 84-59. Absolute beatdown at Kansas as well. They had 5 in double figures. After Herman got fired, I guess Shaka wanted to get himself some job security, and what a way to do it. Kansas, terrible shooting game. 30% from the field. 3 for 23 from 3. That's going to lose you some games. But yeah, congratulations to Texas. Big Ten is super exciting. And shout out to my guy, Jameer Young. Let's see. I can fit in combat sports here, I think. Yeah, I reckon. Combat sports, the next thing I wanted to talk about, and I got plenty to talk about, because, ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Garcia took on Luke Campbell. I was worried for Ryan, even though I wanted him to win. I was more, if I was a betting man, I would have lost money because I would have taken Luke. But King Ryan, ladies and gentlemen, and what a fight it was. It was a very good fight if you haven't watched it. I'm sure the Zone will end up uploading it, or you can find the highlights somewhere. They actually are on the Zone. The Zone commentators, what's up with them, by the way? They absolutely hate each other. absolutely hate each other. Anyways, Garcia Campbell lived up to the hype, and you know who else lived up to the hype? Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to believe the hype with Ryan Garcia. Knocked down in the second round, looked like it was down. You know, looked like, oh boy, is this the fall of the hype? Is this the fall of King Ryan? Is he going to be humbled? Or humbled, as y'all want to call it? Because listen, here's the thing. A lot of people call him confidence because he knows how to market himself, and he's very marketable. Listen, like, he's bringing excitement. He's bringing fans to the sport. Like, he knows how to market himself. He knows how to make money for himself. There's nothing wrong with that. And the whole confidence, the overconfidence, or he's cocky. Everybody in boxing, if you're in combat sports in general, not just boxing, but especially in boxing, you have to be. Everybody is confident or cocky or some kind of has this certain level of confidence about them at a high level. Teofimo has it. Loma has it. Everybody in that lightweight division, Gervonta, Haney, and I'll get to the Fab, possibly new. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Anthony, Joshua, Fury, Canelo. Everybody's got an air of confidence about them. You have to be successful. Ali was super confident. Tyson, everybody was confident. So I don't really get where this overconfidence thing, or he's too cocky or whatever, he's brash, whatever. Everybody is. Even the people that are quiet have this quiet air of confidence around them and in their abilities. That's how boxing works. It also makes so boxing isn't boring. It's better when sports has personalities. And by this new generation having an air of confidence, Garcia having this air of confidence, this following, that adds personality, it adds hype, it adds interest to his matches and to boxing in general. So I don't really get what the problem is. But anyways, Garcia showed some heart. Got knocked down in the second round, came back. Body shot challenge, I guess it's not for nothing. Gets him first man to ever finish Luke Campbell. He does it in the 7th round with that vicious left hook to the body. Ton of respect between those two. King Rye, what can I say? I like the interest as well. But he's the new golden boy. Still some things that need to be ironed out in his game in terms of his movement, which I think is the biggest thing in helping him defensively. Because he has good instincts, but Garcia just needs to move. He was flat-footed, and that allowed Luke some opportunities, even though Ryan was walking him down for the majority of the fight. And really, was never really felt, besides the second round, felt like he was really too much in trouble. He needs to work on that, and I think movement and him moving his head, I think that goes a long way into improving his defense and him being able to match up against a Teofimo or dealing with the power of a Gervonta Davis. I think Haney, his boy, I know they're friends. I know they're trying to build up to that one. And that's who he's actually the mandatory now for, is Devin Haney. I think that's the matchup that should be made. Because I think that's the best one for those two. Rather than Garcia, even though he wants Tank. I would like to see him improve his defense. I mean, he's in the right camp with Eddie and Canelo to do that. But I don't know if he's ready to deal with Tank. Not that Tank has more power, is more explosive, or any of that. But if Tank catches him with like Luke caught him, he might not get up from that. So I would like to see him take the Haney fights. They can always rematch it. I mean, it's boxing. Losses happen. It's not the end of the world, especially with two young guys like that. And speaking of that, man, we might have the new Fab Four. The lightweight division is the best division in boxing, I would say, for my money. And it might be a Fab Five with Shakur Stevenson eventually moving up after he's done with 130. But you got Teofimo Lopez, you got Gervonta Davis, you've got Devin Haney, and of course you've got Ryan Garcia. This could be the new Fab Four. compared to the 80s Fab Four. I definitely want to see some of those matches. I've only really read about them and I've seen, a few clips, but I've been meaning. Actually, I've gotten inspiration to go rewatch those fights because that was great and that was an exciting time for boxing. And it would be exciting to see if they can replicate that level of success. All four of this new generation, very exciting, very good fighters. A lot of potential in each of them, and we'll see. They're destined to match up with each other. I don't think it's a matter of if they'll match up with each other, but more of when. And I think it'll be sooner than later. So yeah. But yeah, big win for Ryan Garcia. Believe the hype. He's the real deal. We know now. Okay, and my last of my major subjects to talk about for the week, but certainly not least, of course, the NBA, Ja Morant, excuse me, Ja. He got hurt this past week. Sprained ankle, I think he's out 2 to 3 weeks, I think is what they said. Sucks because he was off to a great start. We'll see if that Grizzlies team actually as a whole, when Jaren Jackson as well gets back, I really want to see them. I think they could be a very exciting team in the league, and they made the playoffs last year. I don't see why they couldn't do it again. Of course, losing Ja and Triple J this early in the season is a big loss, and we'll see if they can get back healthy and be 100%, so that the Grizzlies can contend for a playoff spot. But yeah, it sucks to see young players get hurt, but nonetheless, he actually got hurt in that Nets game. And speaking of the Nets, they took on the Wizards yesterday. The Wizards won 123 to 122. This was a game of two of the best duos in the league, potentially. Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook. And, of course, KD and Kyrie. Russell Westbrook is averaging 20, 13, and 12 so far in the season. Bradley Beal's averaging 31 points. So I think they're working pretty well together. And Beal's doing just fine post John Wall. They've done great. The Wizards have looked good. We'll see how they do as a duo. As the season continues, we'll see if they can continue to put up these big numbers. The Nets, for all the hype and for as well as KD and Kyrie have played, the Nets have not been very good. I think they've lost about their last four. I think they're on a losing streak right now, actually. Though, of course, it's early days. It's hard to really kind of talk and describe too much or go into detail too much about record, especially this early in the season. But KD and Kyrie are doing well, looking like a great duo. But the Nets are not winning games. Spencer Dinwiddie is a big loss. Partial ACL tear. We don't know when he's going to be back or if he'll be back. Nets, for all the hype, for all of the things we had after that first game, have not lived up to it so far. We'll see, and I fully expect them to adjust later on, but we'll see. Now, Golden State and Portland played yesterday also. The two best point guards in the league by pretty much everybody's standards. Steph Curry and Damian Lillard took on each other. Lillard dropped a 30-piece. But ladies and gentlemen, Steph Curry with 62 points. Steph goes ballistic. 8 threes. I was heading in when I was doing my notes. During that game, I was going to talk about how frustrating of a season it's been for him. And how frustrating of a season it's been for the Warriors. Somewhat due to Oubre and Wiggins underperforming. Though, James Wiseman's been a bright spot. It's been a frustrating season for Curry and for Warriors fans, especially being so used to being so dominant, being so successful. But with play out again, yet another year of him gone, it's been tough. But my goodness, Steph went crazy. 62 points, career high, most points by Warriors players since 1974. Dude just went ape. Completely dominant game. I think that erases all of the Dame might be the best point guard in the league stuff. Though Dame, again, I'd still have him as a top 10 player. Dame is still one of the best point guards. The second best point guard in the league. But I think Curry, definitively, we can say, is still the best point guard in the world. And I feel pretty comfortable saying that. He dropped 60 on him. You know, that's probably going to be the high points total for the year. We'll see. But yeah, we'll see if that's a momentum changer as well for the Warriors, who desperately need it. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the Roundup. Yes. Last week on the Roundup, I talked about Mauricio Pochettino and Messi and their rumors to PSG. Well, this week, Poch officially hired by PSG. We'll see how that goes. I'm very interested. I don't know if he was last with Spurs. We saw that win. We'll see how this goes. We'll see if he can hold Neymar and Mbappe and Keane and make sure that they're still one of the best attacking trios in the world, and see what he can do with that team and see if he can get them back to that Champions League final. And this time, if PSG can finish the job. And of course, winning the league is a priority for them. But yeah, we'll see. I think it's a good hire, but we'll see how he does. I wish Poch the best, though. He's a great dude. In the Premier League, Chelsea is struggling and Lampard is on the hot seat. Chelsea does not look good at all. In a terrible stretch of form. Timo's in a bad stretch of form. It's just not been great to be a Chelsea fan or a Chelsea player right now. And Lampard is getting the brunt of it. We'll see if Chelsea can, revert back and get back to that form they had. See if Pulisic can get back to the form he had post-Corona. But Chelsea's struggling mighty right now. But Manchester United is flourishing. Pogba, seems like every time a transfer rumor comes out about him, he certainly transforms back into one of the best midfielders in the world. He had a masterclass against Aston Villa and Jack Grealish. But yeah, great stuff from Man U. Bruno Fernandes, of course, he's been a revelation since he came. We got Sir Marcus Rashford, another guy that got Sir, somewhat unrelated. Shout out to Lewis Hamilton, congratulations. He got his MBE by the British Orta. And now he is Sir Lewis Hamilton, but yeah, Sir Marcus Rashford, Greenwood, you know all about the time Man U has. But they're flourishing right now. Chelsea floundering. We'll see what goes on the rest of the season in the Premier League. In hockey, World Junior Classic, a lot of the top prospects. I know Trevor Lawerence is doing a phenomenal job right now for the USA, leading the tournament in points. They take on Finland today in the semifinals. Canada, who's the favorite, they've been dominant all tournament long. They get Russia. Should be two very good matchups today in the World Juniors. If you're a hockey fan, I'm sure you'll definitely be tuning in to the top prospects. Well, not two of the top prospects, but plenty of top prospects included there. See the future of the league right now, and we'll see who makes it. Of course, I'd say Canada and USA are my predictions, and that's who I would say make it to the final. With Canada winning, I think that Canada team is just too good, too much talent. Though US not too far behind, but we'll see how they do in the semis. Wouldn't count Finland and Russia out though. Wouldn't count them out. And yeah, to finish, rest in peace to MF Doom. He passed back in October. It was announced this past week. Big loss for the hip hop community. Even though I'm not gonna act like I'm some huge major MF fan, but I have to respect Doom's accomplishments and his influence over pretty much your favorite artist. Probably he's your favorite artist. And extremely talented. Mad Villainy, of course, one of the best albums, probably one of the best rap albums of all time. And yeah, plenty of great material for you to go back and look at and go and listen to. But yeah, rest in peace to him, legend. Long live the villain. And yeah, looking at my notes and looking at my time here, that's about it. Can't really think of anything else. I think that covers everything for sports this week. Hopefully somebody in music drops. Hey Drake, drop Certified Lover Boy. But hope you guys have a great start to the year. I've had a great start to the year. Hopefully 2021 is much better than 2020. But yeah, without further ado, Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Tell me what you enjoyed. Tell me what you want to see. Ocho, signing off.